والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدًا عبده ورسوله. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد begin with the best of beginnings. The beginning that has Allah Azza wa Jal as the central focus, praising and glorifying and thanking Allah, who is the most deserved of being praised and thanked, exalted and glorified. I bear witness to the testimony of truth that there is only one true God, Allah, who alone deserves to be worshipped, and that Muhammad, may Allah's peace and blessings forever and always be upon him, that he is the hero for every believer. He is the ultimate role model for every Muslim up until the day of judgment. Verily, the person whom Allah guides, none can lead them astray. The one whom Allah Azza wa Jal leads astray, there could be none other than Allah that could guide them. All you who believe, have taqwa of Allah, be mindful of Allah, live life aware of Allah, and make sure that you don't die except as true, sincere believers. Ahibba, as we come to an end, inshaAllah, and we hope and pray that it has been a wonderful journey and that it comes to a sweet end. Talking about the Masjid, putting it into context with the new house that Allah has provided us with, we focus today upon some of the don'ts with regards to the house of Allah. But before I continue, I want to remind you that all of the khutbahs are made available for you to listen, and if I'm not mistaken, we've been recording them even with videos since we've come into the new Masjid, so that you can perhaps better focus and concentrate by looking and listening, so that you can review these different teachings time and time again. As humans, it is natural for us to forget things. And our short-term memory these days, for some of us, Allahul Musta'an, is very short. So it is a good idea that you can take advantage of this free service that is on the magr.org website, and perhaps use it as quality time with your family, with relatives, whoever the case may be, so that this way, inshaAllah, it'll be time well spent, as well as a revision of some important teachings that are definitely applicable. One of the things that we're going to say is that when someone is making salah, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam taught us to be careful to never walk in front of them. And naturally, this is where the person who's making the salah works together with the rest of us as a team, by praying towards a sutra, by praying towards something of a barrier, and not making it difficult for somebody else who's walking in. But if there is someone who has a sutra, you should never cross between them and that barrier that they're praying towards. We have the hadith that is in Sahih al-Jami' that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, إِذَا صَلَّ أَحَدُكُمْ فَلْيُصَلِّ إِلَى السُّتْرَةِ وَلْيُدْنِ مِنْهَا وَلَا يَدَعْ أَحَدًا يَمُرُّ بَيْنَ يَدَيْهِ فَإِنْ جَاءَ أَحَدٌ يَمُرُّ فَلْيُقَاتِلْهُ فَإِنَّمَا هُوَ الشَّيْطَانُ. This is some very strong language from Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam. And if we can understand that Allah Jalla wa Ala in the Quran, as well as His Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam in the Sunnah, when they use strong language, it's because it's something very serious and important. What does He tell us? He says that whenever one of you prays, he should pray towards a barrier, a sutra, and that he should bring himself close to it, near to it, and that he should not allow anybody to walk in between them, to walk in front of him. And if anyone tries, that you should fight against them, repel them, because that's a person who is really in essence the devil. For Rasulullah ﷺ to call that person who is coming between the Muslim and Allah as they are praying the devil, it's very serious. We should understand that the devil can take advantage of us because of our ignorance, such that he will cause us to go and walk in front of somebody, breaking their prayer, doing the duties and works of shaitan. It is through knowledge that we can repel shaitan from causing us to act in the way that he wants us to. And it can, at the same time, prevent something of a negative thing happening in the house of Allah, whereas this should never be the place where there's conflict. Rather, it should be the place where we come to remember Allah, to gain in peace and tranquility, and to always walk out a better slave and servant. And when we talk about salat in the masjid, naturally for some, or the majority of us, we don't live next door. Many of us live miles away. But we want to still take into consideration one of the sunnahs of what Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam taught us as regards the salawat in the masjid. Listen to this. He said, صَلُّوا أَيُّهَا النَّاسُ فِي بُيُوتِكُمْ فَإِنَّ أَفْضَلَ صَلَاةِ الْمَرْءِ فِي بَيْتِهِ إِلَّا صَلَاةِ الْمَكْتُوبَةِ. In this hadith that's in Bukhari, he says, oh people, pray in your homes. Make sure that you pray in your house. Because the best prayer that you perform is the one in your house, except for the fard prayer that is to be prayed in jama'ah, and that's the best way for that prayer to be made. Some of us, we make everything of our sunnah and our nafil in the masjid. And at home, it's as if the house is a graveyard, that we don't make salat in it. Well, how else are we supposed to be an example? How else are we supposed to be that example for our children and for our families? How else are we supposed to train them? How else are we supposed to make that the house of believers, that salat is being established in? So especially with regards to the salawat, that there are sunnahs that can be prayed after the fard, and you are going to be going home, make those sunnahs at home. This is in line with the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Another thing of what the Messenger ﷺ taught us is that when we are standing up to establish the prayer in jama'ah, that we should be careful not to have improper rows. That we should be cautious to make sure that the rows are not a reflection of what's in our hearts and what shaitan is able to throw within, of diseases polluting the purity of what Allah Azza wa Jal time and time again purifies in our hearts and souls. We have in this hadith, or in a collection of these ahadith that are in the books of Sunnah, of Abu Dawood and Nasa'i, with Ibn Majah, etc. We have this hadith where the Messenger ﷺ said, أَقِيمُوا الصُّفُوفَ فَإِنَّمَا تَصُفُّونَ بِصُفُوفِ الْمَلَائِكَةِ. And I'll break it down into its parts. He says, establish your rows for prayer because you line up in the same way that the angels line up when they worship Allah. Then he says, وَحَاذُوا بَيْنَ الْمَنَاكِبِ وَالْأَقْدَامِ. And then align yourselves at the shoulders and at the feet. And this is talking about helping to make sure that the rows are as straight as can possibly be by making sure that you're standing shoulder to shoulder. And then foot to foot. And then he said, وَصُدُّ الْخَلَلِ. And make sure that you fill in the empty spaces. That this should be a single united row, a body of believers. And then he says, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, وَلِينُوا فِي أَيْدِي إِخْوَانِكُمْ. And be gentle in the process with your brothers as you do this. Some of us, mashallah, we're perhaps a little stronger than others, and we don't realize that when we go in that we knock the guy over. That perhaps when we're standing shoulder to shoulder, that we kind of cause the other person to kind of go like this because we're like that. Or that even perhaps in the process of while we're putting our feet next to each other, that some of us, subhanAllah, we're actually stepping on the toe or on the foot of the other person and don't think anything about it. No, there's got to be gentleness. We want to have comfort as we're standing up, lining up for the salah. وَلَا تَذَرُوا فُرُجَاتٍ لِلشَّيْطَانِ. وَلَا تَذَرُوا فُرُجَاتٍ لِلشَّيْطَانِ. Do not leave gaps, empty spaces in these rows for shaitan. وَمَنْ وَصَلَ صَفًّا وَصَلَهُ اللَّهُ تَبَارَكَ وَتَعَالَى وَمَنْ قَطَعَ صَفًّا قَطَعَهُ اللَّهُ. And whoever fills in, moves up to fill in those spaces so that there are complete rows, Allah will also complete them and complete things in their life for them. But the one who breaks the rows, Allah will also break them and break things that are of importance in their life for them. And that's a very strong word there. That's a warning. So the salah itself, ahibbah, it should really show what we feel in our hearts. And perhaps because of what we truly feel in our hearts, Some of us, we still don't allow our rows to be perfect in the way that the angels line up perfectly for salah. Where some of us, we feel there has to be personal space between me and whoever's going to stay next to me. It's like, don't touch me. SubhanAllah. Where is that from the sunnah of the Messenger alayhi salatu wasalam? Where some people, that if the person moves their foot closer to the other person, that they will actually do something to stop the person. The sunnah of the Messenger alayhi salatu wasalam, listen to this. It is so unfortunate and awful that there can come a time when the Messenger alayhi salatu wasalam's sunnah can be misunderstood for something criminal. I heard a story once where there were people in the masjid and they're lining up for salah. And the person lines up and he gets close to the person and the person moves away. And so the person moves closer to him, then again he moves further away. And then he moves closer to them and that person puts his hand on and stops. He says, hey look, the masjid is not a place for homosexuals. No. Could you imagine that? Could you imagine that that's the level of ignorance that somebody will have? Well, this is what can happen. And every time a bid'ah comes into place, it takes the place, it dispels the sunnah. Because sunnah is understood by these people that you have to have a space between you and whoever else is next to you. Oh, the true believer is the one who knows that that's their brother, regardless of what skin color they have, regardless of what ethnicity they are, regardless of how well they can speak or can't speak Arabic or English or whatever language it is, regardless of even if they smell. That in salah, we are supposed to be brothers. This is to help us remind ourselves time and time again that we are ummatun wahida, that we are one ummah. And to remind us that there's leadership. And in the same way that jama'ah is to follow the imam, not to overstep him, not to go ahead of him, because doing so will break the salah. It's also to teach us something of the love and etiquette that needs to be there, and giving each other the due respect that's needed. Another thing, ahibba, with regards to the masjid is that the masjid is meant to be a place that is kept free, clean and pure from different things that can take that quality from the masjid away. It is for this reason that we find the Prophet ﷺ prohibiting business taking place in the masjid, prohibiting people making all sorts of lost and found types of announcements and statements and things of this sort and that. We have in this hadith of the Prophet ﷺ that's in Sahih al-Jami', قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إذا رأيتم من يبيع أو يبتاع في المسجد فقولوا لا أربح الله تجارتك. سبحان الله. وإذا رأيتم من يرشد فيه ضالة فقولوا لا رد الله عليك ضالتك. Again, harsh usage, strong words from the Messenger alayhi salatu wasalam. But this is what we should understand as tough love. This is for us to understand tough love, because sometimes things can be so ingrained within us that it can only be through tough love that we can learn the lesson. Because sometimes kindness, gentleness, when it is applied and it still doesn't sink in, there has to be that tough love. The mission is not to be the marketplace. That doesn't mean that we cannot learn about Islamically how we're supposed to transact with each other and buy and sell. That's knowledge, that's ibadah. But for us to talk, yeah, how much you going to sell your car for? Yeah, I'm looking to move, I'll give you a good deal on my house. That's not what the mission is for. Nor is it meant for those other things. We need to be careful of this, and we need to be careful because a lot of things have become part of culture. If there's one thing that most of us should recognize today is that culture has actually overwhelmed what Islamic knowledge is. We do things just because that's how we've seen it being done, without really even revisiting to see, is this something that's Islamically correct or not? And when sometimes perhaps the initiative is made to change it so that it can become more Islamic, resistance happens. Unfortunately, most of the time we resist negative change, positive change, pardon me. Things that are truly for our benefit. And one of the other things that we want to be cautious of, because it targets right at our core, is the issue of spying. Allah Azza wa Jal prohibits us in the Quran saying, وَلَا تَجَسَّسُوا. And this is complete. Do not spy, period. Especially in the masjid. There are some people who come to the masjid to see who didn't come. That they'll come for the particular salat and take the visual mental count to see, yep, yeah, so-and-so ain't here again. That's the second, the third salat that he's missed today. Or he's not here for Jum'ah again. Well, if somebody made you the attendance monitor, I understand that. But that's what the angels are for. None of us are here to take attendance. But there's also another issue. That there are some who come and they spy on behalf of the government or on behalf of some bureau of investigations or otherwise. As if they're looking to find whatever they can to cause problems where there are no problems. This is also haram. That Muslim who is used as a tool for wrong purposes. And understand me correctly, I'm not saying that it is wrong for us to cooperate with the authorities and things that are correct for us. But as we saw what happened maybe just a little over a year ago, where they had those undercover Muslims that were going into the mosques and then they're videoing things and they're recording things and then they're kind of cutting and pasting stuff and they're sending it out. They're saying, this is what's happening within the mosques of England. This is what's happening within the mosques in America. This is what's happening. And they are lying. If anybody comes to the masjid to spy, to cause harm, I want to warn you to be careful of a fire in hell that has your name on it. The masjid is to remember Allah, to worship Allah, to work together in all that is good for Allah's cause, sincerely. Not to come here for any other purpose. And because of this, we'll also add to say that the masjid is not a place to come for political issues. This is not a place where we come to spew the venom of our political positions, of our feelings and thoughts with regards to Fulan and Alan. To say about so-and-so, especially as an election year comes in. Masjid, we should fear Allah how we use it. We should fear Allah what thoughts we come into the masjid with. Ultimately, only Allah knows, and that's part of the beauty, because if Allah were to expose us, we would all go run and hide and live in caves and in the forest so that we wouldn't see each other's face and shame. And as it said, that the masjid, of course, is to worship Allah. Therefore, to abuse another Muslim in the masjid is absolutely unacceptable. To raise your voices, to argue, to yell, even if you disagree with something, the etiquettes of the masjid are to be maintained regardless. And there's a wonderful quote that says, the Muslim who is too severe in his criticism or her criticism of others is usually too lenient with himself. Wouldn't it be so nice that instead of us being so harsh towards the other, that that's the approach that we took towards ourselves first, and that we were lenient and kind with the others? And as another statement says, the person who has true Muslim or Islamic spirit, they never take delight in the faults of others. That is hypocrisy within the heart of a Muslim if they're happy to see that a Muslim is doing something wrong. None of us should ever feel happy that a Muslim or a non-Muslim is doing something wrong, that they are sinning against Allah, because it's not about just the act, but about who that act is being committed against. Nor should we ever feel happy that somebody is going through something of a hardship, because Allah Jalla wa Ala can very quickly change the table such that the person who perhaps you were relishing in delight that they are suffering, that it can come home so quickly and so powerfully that perhaps even with regret, it may not remove it and it may not resolve it. Ya ibadallah, ittaqullaha wa tubu ilayh, innahu huwal ghafurur rahim. Bismillah walhamdulillah wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillahi amma ba'd. And then all that was previously said, Ahibba, I want you to understand something else. That the Imam is included within all of what was previously mentioned. That the Imam should also have a special place in your hearts. Not because of his handsome beard, or because of his fancy garb, but because of the position that is nothing more than an extension of what Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam himself was and passed on in the legacy. So the masjid is not the place where you come to find the faults of the Imam. Especially if you're not going to take that fault and work with the Imam to help complete him. There's a beautiful statement that says a caring Imam will build a masjid. A caring Imam will build a masjid and will also build a community. But a caring masjid and community will also build its Imam. It's too easy when you yourself are the audience watching the game to be able to tell the quarterback how he should have threw that ball. To be able to tell the basketball player how he should have dodged and made that shot. To be able to tell the boxer how he should have ducked and came in with the uppercut. It's so easy when you are in the seat, looking to be able to have that hindsight and to be able to, mashallah, always have answers. But it's also all too easy for you to walk away and to leave me alone many a times. That when I ask something from someone of a community member, that they turn me down, and it's nothing personal. I would understand if I came and said, Ya Akhi, I really need a new car. Please help me buy a new car. And he were to say, Ya Akhi, Allah help you. I can't. I would understand that. But when I'm making requests that are for your own good, for the good of the community, for the masjid, for the school, for our youth, for the sisters, and with that, when there is, I want to say where there's disrespect, and it may not be intentional. I really want to believe it's because there's ignorance of Islam. There's ignorance of Islam that certain people can speak a certain way and that they can act a certain way. Allah forgive you. I try not to hold it against you. I really do. But it's hard when it's something that can be recurrent. It's hard when all that I can do is to strive day and night and sacrifice things, and some of the most important things being my own family. And to feel that, subhanAllah, it is met with nothing but disdain. That it is met with nothing but complaints. Where there is such ungratefulness that I'll be honest with you, time and time again, even after the building of this beautiful masjid, even after the establishing of Iqra school through 12th grade, I still find solace in thinking about perhaps a time when I walk away from all of this. I don't want to, because I recognize that the act itself of being a leader, a religious leader, is going to mean that you're going to have to deal with things that Rasulullah himself did. But the Sahaba, they did not offend and abuse the Prophet. It was the hypocrites. It was the disbelievers. Not those who said, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammad Rasulullah. And so lastly, I want to leave you with a question to think about. And I really want you to do the homework that is needed to think about it long and well. What kind of masjid, and with that, what kind of community do you think you would have if every other Muslim in this masjid, in this community, was just like you? Think about that. If there was 100,000 of just like you, how would things be? How much better would the school run? How much better would the masjid run? How much better would our community be? Think about it. And I would really appreciate it if some of you could come back to me with positive criticism and feedback, and even the negative stuff, but come talk to me. My door is always open to me. My cell phone number is public. My email address is public. Heck, even my home address is known. Talk to me. If you are truly my brother, you're going to want what's good for me in the same way that I swear by Allah, I want what's good for you. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. قوموا إلى صلاتكم.